Winter in Ohio has two faces, one calm and ordinary, the other wild with snow that arrives without compromise. And between the stretches of lakes, small hills, and old industrial towns, there are rows of places whose lives are truly shaped by snow. Each town has its own story. Some are in the heavy snowbelt zone, others are in the transitional snow zone, and some experience short but intense snow patterns. In this list of 15 cities, snow is not just a number of inches. It becomes part of the culture, small habits of the residents, even the way the city breathes when winter comes. So, let's start this journey, from the light snow to those truly buried in white. Canton has always been a prime example of an Ohio city where winter feels mild compared to its northern neighbors. While snowbelt cities get pummeled by lake-effect snow relentlessly, Canton gets a lighter version. Snow still arrives with 45 inches a year. Interestingly, the city's location farther from Lake Erie makes its weather patterns much more stable. Major storms are rarer, snowfall accumulation is lower, and streets quickly return to normal after the snow passes. However, the lighter snow doesn't mean Canton loses its winter vibe. The city has a small tradition that always pops up at the end of the year: Christkindl Markt, an annual holiday craft and art market that's been around for decades. There, residents and visitors can find handcrafted goods, artworks, unique Christmas gifts, winter-themed food and candies, plus entertainment like art exhibits and live music. Youngstown lies on the line between two winter worlds, and that's what makes it interesting. Located in northeastern Ohio, not far from the Pennsylvania border, it sits right in the area that weather experts call the transitional snow zone. What does that mean? Youngstown sometimes gets lake-effect snow from Lake Erie, but never as intensely as true snowbelt cities like Chardon or Ashtabula. The average snowfall here is 50 inches per year. In Mill Creek Park, the changing seasons always feel dramatic. Stone bridges, small lakes, and old forests transform into a white backdrop that residents seek for morning walks, ice skating, or photos. Meanwhile, downtown maintains its industrial character, the legacy of the steel era, where workers once told stories of the biting cold winds during morning shifts. Youngstown isn't extreme, but it has a snow rhythm full of character. From Youngstown, Ohio's winter chill moves into Akron, a city sitting right on the transition line between the northern snowbelt and the Appalachian Highlands. This location gives Akron a unique weather personality. Sometimes it gets lake-effect snow from Lake Erie, and sometimes it's calmer. On average, the city gets around 45 to 50 inches of snow per year. Areas like Cascade Valley, Merriman Valley, and Cuyahoga Valley National Park turn into favorite winter spots for residents, places for light hiking, morning fog photos, or simply enjoying the stillness of the frozen air. But weather is just one side of the story. Akron was once known as the rubber capital of the world, home to Goodyear, Firestone, and General Tire, with the most iconic symbol of the city being the Goodyear blimp, often seen circling above the city's skyline. In central Ohio, Bowling Green isn't a snowbelt city, but it's known for having not much snow, but extreme winds. While the average winter is milder, the flat, agricultural winds of northwest Ohio often cause blowing snow and occasional whiteouts on open roads, a fun fact that many outsiders don't know. What's unique about Bowling Green is that it's home to Ohio's first wind farm, underscoring just how strong the winds in this area can be. Bowling Green State University, BGSU, also serves as a hub for winter activities, from snow games on campus to the small tradition of enjoying hot chocolate around Wooster Street when temperatures drop. Elyria, in northern central Ohio, faces winter in a rather moderate way. Snow does fall, but usually not enough to disrupt city life significantly. Winter in Elyria tends to bring light to moderate snow with an average of 50 inches per year. Occasional winds make the atmosphere chill, but the city keeps moving along as usual. This gives Elyria's winter a more natural feel, not dramatic, but still carrying its own distinctive vibe. Upon closer look, the city has a long history tied to the railroad and canal systems in Ohio, which once connected the industrial cities to the farming towns. During winter, many residents enjoy the quiet, paved streets with light snow, streetlights dimly glowing, and an overall vibe of the city that feels like it's slowly but surely making it through the winter. Cleveland Heights sits just to the east of Cleveland, in an area often referred to as the Western Reserve Snow Transition Zone, an area that sometimes experiences lake-effect snow from Lake Erie and other times just gets regular cold rain. That's what makes snow in Cleveland Heights interesting. It's not as heavy as in the core Snowbelt cities, but it still falls often enough to shape its own winter identity. During an active season, winds from the lake can bring heavy snowbands that suddenly dump a lot of snow, even though the neighboring cities might be clear, a local phenomenon that often catches residents by surprise. An interesting fact, Cleveland Heights is known as one of the highest elevation suburban cities in Greater Cleveland. This elevation makes the city generally colder and slightly snowier compared to the lower-lying areas closer to the lake. Located on the eastern side of Cleveland, South Euclid is part of the area often referred to as the Snow Transition Zone, an area that sometimes gets lake-effect snow from Lake Erie, but not as intensely as the core Snowbelt cities to the north. That's why the snow in South Euclid feels unpredictable. There are winters with just light snow, but there are also moments when snowbands from the lake suddenly drop, turning the city white in a matter of hours. It turns out South Euclid has a slightly higher elevation compared to some of the suburbs near the lake, which causes the cold air to linger longer. This makes the city often experience a fast freeze-thaw cycle. Snow falls, melts, and then refreezes, a characteristic pattern of transitional weather zones. Winter in South Euclid isn't about extreme snow, but rather about small, shifting rhythms, streets suddenly icy, foggy mornings, and quiet nights with a thin white layer on front lawns. Shaker Heights has always had a close but complicated relationship with winter. Snow here isn't just a seasonal decoration. It comes with a rhythm frequent enough to shape the lifestyle of its residents. As an eastern Cleveland suburb located in the inner Snowbelt, Shaker often becomes one of the first places to turn white when Lake Erie starts sending lake-effect snow. Sometimes the snow falls gently like fine flakes, and other times it arrives as a white wall, suddenly blanketing everything without warning. What's interesting is that the city has a well-maintained architectural and landscape character. Early 20th century stone homes, wide streets, and rows of old trees that, when covered in snow, make the city look like a winter movie set. Mentor has a close relationship with Lake Erie, and that's immediately noticeable when winter arrives. While the city isn't part of the heavy snowbelt, it still frequently gets lake-effect snow drifting down from the north. As a result, the snow in Mentor tends to come in unique patterns, sometimes light and steady, other times heavy in just a few hours. Locals are used to it, they aren't surprised, but they don't treat it as a big deal either. What's fascinating about Mentor is how the city blends modern suburban life with close proximity to nature. Parks like Mentor Lagoons or Headlands Beach State Park feel different in winter. Quiet, cold, and the lake seems much larger behind the mist. There aren't big festivals or specific traditions, but that's exactly what makes winter in Mentor feel honest, simple, practical, and down to earth. Mayfield Heights has a practical winter, and the 70.7 inches of snow per year actually represents the city's character pretty well. Being close to Lake Erie, it does get lake-effect snow, but the pattern isn't long-lasting storms. It's more like short bursts, heavy snow for a few hours, then a break, and then it comes back a couple of days later. For residents, 70.7 inches isn't something dramatic, it's just part of the annual routine. What's interesting is that the city's life doesn't change much despite that amount of snow. Commercial areas stay lively, shopping centers and restaurants along Mayfield Road and some Center Road remain busy. The city government acts quickly to clear main roads, so mobility rarely comes to a standstill. Even though the city gets nearly 6 feet of snow a year, daily rhythms continue as normal, as if the 70.7 inches is just a statistic, not an obstacle. Painesville feels like a bridge between the quiet suburban town and the snowy northern region. Located relatively close to Lake Erie, the city sometimes gets a little extra snow from lake effect, but it can't be called one of the heaviest snowbelt cities. Winters in Painesville often bring enough snow to cover roads and rooftops, but rarely to the point of extreme, long-lasting snow drama. Painesville doesn't have an official Snow City title, but its winters feel distinct enough to make winter special, enough to bring a blanket of white, but not enough to stop life in its tracks. Geneva, Ohio, feels like the quiet end of the Lake Erie shoreline, where winter arrives with a whisper, not a roar. Due to its proximity to the lake, Geneva often gets the leftover lake-effect snow, snowbands that slide off the lake and suddenly cover rooftops, streets, and trees. But the snow is rarely dramatic. More often, it's a gentle, thin white sweep in the morning or a soft dusting at night. This makes winter in Geneva feel modest. Geneva has long been known for its lakeside charm and summer tourist attractions, beaches, small harbors, and a calm lake. When winter comes, the streets quiet down and the atmosphere changes drastically. Silence, a thin mist over the water, and houses with small windows, smoke rising from chimneys. Ashtabula, located on the shores of Lake Erie, has a strong reputation as one of Ohio's snowiest cities, and the average annual snowfall of about 81.1 inches makes that reputation feel very real. When cold winds from the lake bring moisture that then freezes, Ashtabula can change quickly. Roads become slippery, rooftops are covered in white, and trees are dusted with snow in just a few hours. Its winter has a clear rhythm. Snow falls, accumulates, melts a little, then piles up again with rain or freezing drizzle. For locals, 60 inches isn't an extreme number. It's just enough to make them regularly prepare shovels, sidewalk salt, and snow equipment. Life goes on, but with seasonal adaptations. For anyone who wants to experience Ohio winter with a lakeside vibe, biting cold, occasional winds from Lake Erie, and unexpected white landscapes. Conneaut is a small town whose life is very much shaped by Lake Erie. As soon as winter sets in, the town often becomes a gateway for lake-effect snow. With an average annual snowfall of 94 inches, Conneaut is widely known as one of the cities with the highest snow accumulation in northeastern Ohio, even being referred to in local conversations as their own version of a mini snowbelt. What makes Conneaut fascinating is its contrast. In the summer, the town is famous for its harbor and fishing spots. But when winter arrives, that area completely transforms. The docks can look like black and white paintings, boats are covered in frost, and a thin layer of ice sometimes forms along the shoreline. Interestingly, Conneaut has a very active local community that participates in storm watching, a small tradition where residents head to the coast just to watch snowstorms move inland from the lake. Chardon is often called the Snow King of Ohio, and its reputation is well earned. This small town sits in the heart of the northeastern snowbelt, where cold winds from Lake Erie carry moisture inland, landing as snowstorms, not just rain. When winter is active, Chardon can change completely. One night, roads might be thick with snow, rooftops covered, trees draped in snow crystals, and the atmosphere becomes eerily quiet, except for the sound of footsteps in the snow. What makes Chardon interesting isn't just the snow, but the way residents face winter. Many homes have wooden planks for shoveling snow. Cars are equipped with snow tires every season, and grocery stores stay open even when access roads are temporarily blocked. Winter in Chardon isn't a burden. For many, it's a part of their identity,